Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving deep into the next big battle for your living room. So the year is 2026, and after what feels like a short-lived peace, the console Cold War, it's officially hot. We've got two new titans stepping into the ring, and they are armed with some of the most powerful silicon we have ever seen.
In one corner, carrying a legacy of just, incredible cinematic masterpieces, we have Sony's PlayStation 5 Pro Max. And in the other corner, the reigning champion of value and services, Microsoft's Xbox Series X Elite.
But look, we're not here to just read you the marketing brochure. No, we're going to strip away all the promises, get past the hype, and really look at the raw silicon to see what actually makes these incredible machines tick.
Okay, let's get right into it and start with the core hardware. I'm talking about the very engines driving these gaming beasts.
So both consoles are powered by AMD's next-gen Zen 6 architecture, which is amazing, but they have completely different philosophies about how to use it. Sony is all about burst speed. They're pushing their CPU to a variable 4.4 GHz for insanely fast loading. Microsoft, on the other hand, they're opting for just unwavering stability with a locked 4.2 GHz frequency. That's perfect for those, marathon 8-hour gaming sessions.
Now, at first glance, if you just look at the raw graphical power, it really seems to favor Xbox. This chart shows it flexing a whopping 18 teraflops of power compared to Sony's 16.5. That's a clear win for Microsoft, right? Well, not so fast, because raw numbers, they don't tell the whole story.
Yeah, the real magic here is actually in the architecture.
See, Sony has developed what they're calling a narrow and fast GPU. It actually uses fewer compute units, but it runs them at a blistering 2.8 gigahertz. This kind of reveals Sony's core philosophy, right? They're willing to trade a little bit of that peak, sustained power for a faster, snappier moment-to-moment experience. And the result? Well, in these huge open-world games, textures on the PS5 Pro Max can load noticeably faster.
And this whole difference in philosophy, it extends right to their memory. Microsoft goes all in with a massive 24GB unified pool of RAM. That's what makes its iconic quick resume feature faster than ever. Sony, though, they split their resources. They dedicate 4 gigs of RAM just for the operating system. This makes sure that the user interface stays buttery smooth, with menus that never ever lag, no matter how intense the game gets.
Okay, so let's move on from the silicon you can't see to the hardware you can actually touch and hear and feel.
And believe me, this next-gen battle extends right into the palms of your hands. Both companies have evolved their Pro controllers, and the competition here, it is fierce.
First up, Sony has finally fixed the DualSense's biggest weakness. The new Edge V2 now boasts a solid 12-hour battery life, thank goodness, and its haptic feedback is way more advanced, letting you actually feel the difference between walking on sand versus crunching through snow. It's pretty cool.
But Microsoft may have just delivered a killer feature. The Elite V3 controller now has a built-in OLED screen. This lets you manage profiles, check your battery, and even run macros on the fly without ever pausing the game. For complex RPGs, this is an absolute lifesaver. So when it comes to cooling these absolute powerhouses, you're faced with a really clear choice. The PS5 Pro Max runs about 2 degrees Celsius cooler, which is impressive thanks to its liquid metal solution, but the fan is a little more audible. The Xbox, with its massive vapor chamber, is basically whisper quiet, but that quiet comes at the cost of a slightly thicker console design. But look, the hardware is only half the story. You're not just buying a box of circuits, right? You're buying into an entire ecosystem of games and services.
And this is really where the battle lines are drawn. Sony continues its reign as the sultan of cinematic, single-player storytelling with huge titles like Wolverine and Ghost of Tsushima 2. Microsoft, meanwhile, brings an army of variety, focusing on those sprawling 100-hour RPGs like the new Fable and, of course, The Elder Scrolls 6.
When we talk about services, it is a clash of titans. Game Pass is still the undisputed king of value. It's the all-you-can-eat buffet of gaming. But Sony isn't trying to compete on volume. They're competing on innovation with a totally revolutionary new feature, PlayStation Plus AI. Seriously, think of it as a built-in Copilot that can generate custom video guides whenever you get stuck in a game.
And in the world of virtual reality, look, this isn't even a competition. It is a complete and total shutout. Microsoft has left the field entirely. Meanwhile, Sony's PS5 Pro Max offers full support for the new wireless PSVR 3, and it even includes a dedicated chip to push 8K quality at 120 frames per second. For VR fans, there's literally only one choice here.
So, after laying out all the evidence from our little autopsy here, we arrive at that final, crucial decision.
The truth is, there is no single objective winner in this war. And why is that? Because the best console for 2026 depends entirely on what kind of player you are.
The Xbox Series X Elite is your perfect ally if value and variety are your top priorities. If you want day-one access to a massive ocean of games with Game Pass, if you demand that unwavering stability for long gaming sessions, and you appreciate a silent machine that just kind of blends into your entertainment center, then this is your console.
But if you are someone who craves unparalleled immersion, if you want to feel every single footstep and experience groundbreaking virtual reality, and if masterful cinematic storytelling is what you live for, and maybe budget is less of a concern for you, then the PlayStation 5 Pro Max is the undisputed king of your living room.
The choice, as always, is yours. Thanks for joining us for this explainer.